wasn't much left. Only a cinder remained.
This is Frank, and thanks for joining me today. I'll do a quick cartoon parody version of the Dragon's Lair castle, and I have it visualized in my mind. So all I have to do is try to bring that vision to the drawing here. So the first thing I'll do, I can picture the castle. The very top of it would be kind of like this, and the pen here is a little sluggish, but I think I can get through this. Alright, so now this castle has all these sections that pillar out, so I have to create these different pillars, but as part of the parody I'm going to exaggerate that a little bit and just add a whole bunch more that would extend to the left and make it more far out. Maybe have some upside down as well. But yeah, that opening view of the castle in the Dragon's Lair video game is really awesome. Really inspiring, and you're like, wow, look at this place. They're about to transport the player into that haunted castle, and in a lot of ways it is haunted because there are all spirits in there and monsters and ghosts and haunted knights and mummies and vines that will attack, and all kinds of traps. It's like a nightmarish place to visit, but Dirk has to go in there to save Princess Daphne, who's been taken by the Singe, the evil dragon. And I'm pretty sure Singe is the one that put her in the bubble and put her into that trap that is inside the treasure lair. So as you can see, this castle is really exaggerated, and now that I have that much, I want to save it so I don't lose anything. So you can see this is really exaggerated, and there's no way the castle will be able to support those pillars like that without having trouble reinforcing the extension like that. But that's part of the parody of it, to really exaggerate and make it more far-fetched and a little far out. Alright, so that's that part. And then I'd have to create the gate, the drawbridge, and that's always in this really well off in this really neat looking bridge setup. A little too close to the edge there. And then I do have a bunch of textures and things I could add to this. I'll see if I could do that. And then I would have like lights on here, and this will be mostly grayed out, so I'm not going to get too detailed here. But for the drawbridge, I'll have that already down and just go like this. And then there would be like a chain. But that would actually have some slack to it, so I don't want to go too much with that. Maybe like that. And then there would be like a moat, and the moat, instead of like water, I'll just put lava. In the world right now, there's I believe there's a volcano erupting over in I think it's Iceland. I only saw it for a second, so I'm not positive, but I think I saw the news of Iceland volcano erupting, and probably a lot more than just one in the world, but that happened today, and today's March 21st, 2021. Start of a hopefully a better year than 2020. That was a pretty rough year. But here's the parody castle here. I'll have it in sort of like darkness, and then I'll have to create like a texture for the brick. I could probably do something like this. I have to remember that this is more detailed than the cell painted stuff, so this would have a lot more detail on it, more like a painterly effect. A lot of this I'm probably going to have to do while not recording, because the recording turns the drawing super slow, and it's hard to get a real good sense of rhythm and timing with my lines. It's all stilted and delayed, so it's like kind of clumsy to work with this pen. I have to get a faster processor. Alright, so here's the castle. What I'll do now is just make sure the lines are where they should be. There should be like I remember there were like picker bushes over here, the sharp jagged thorns, the vines over here, so I'll have those in there too. But what I'll do now is, let me see if I could add texture to this. And the way I would do that is see if I have a good, yeah, I think that's good right there. So what I'll do is I'm going to pull this into here. I created this brick texture back in, I think it was 2016. Yeah, there it is, 2016. And then let's see, where is it? There it is. It took like 5 minutes to load up. Alright, so I'll just move that underneath, and I have to reduce the scale of it and then replicate it so I have smaller bricks, otherwise it's going to look a little weird. Alright, so what I want to do is get rid of the connections so I could freely rotate this as I want. And I'd say that's pretty good right there. So what I'll do is I'll layer it, and then I'll merge all those layers together, and then go from there. So what I'll do first is just make sure everything's covered here. Then I'll select the castle, and it'll allow me to just take these textures and just have it be in the shape of the castle. It's so much easier than just repainting it all over again. In other words, if I had to do this from scratch, I could, but since this is just a fun little side project, I don't want to just do everything from scratch. Even with my main film, the City of Rot Otherworld, it's good to have assets that you created earlier that you can just simplify the process if you can, to make it more possible for one person to do all the different aspects of it, rather than just do everything from scratch. Like the first City of Rot, a lot of that was from scratch because I didn't have any assets to work with, so I had to create all the buildings and the zombies and all that stuff from scratch. And then with City of Rot Otherworld, a lot of that was already built for the buildings and stuff like that, and then I just took those individual pieces and created new scenes and stuff like that. But because it is exploring the same city, I was allowed to reuse some scenes as well, just so if you're a fan of the first City of Rot, you could see some familiar locations in the new film. Alright, so this is getting there. It's almost finished, and then I have something for the door there, but I'll have to see how this is going to work. Alright, so this piece will go up here, then I'll duplicate it again, and I'll do a merge visible layers, because that'll be the quickest route. And for this here, I want to make sure I cover that and then the bottom there. So I'll extend this one down a little. Just go with the extension there, and then scale it, and that should work. Just move it up a fraction to cover this piece here. Alright, just about one or two more blocks and this will cover it all, but it'll give a nice texture to everything. Alright, so there's that, and just one more right here. This part's the ground, so that'll be a different texture. Okay, now that that's all completed, what I'll do is I'll do merge visible layers, and that'll blend all these together instantly once it catches up. Merge visible layers. Come on. Okay, one more time. Merge visible layers. Oh, brother. Oh, there it is. There's a button for it. And then when you press on it, it doesn't work. Oh, it worked. Okay. It just replicated the command. Alright, so that worked out. Next thing I have to do is select the castle. And the way I do that is go into this tool here called the Select by Color tool. And I have the threshold at 40.7. So I'll just click on this open space. Oh no, that clicked on all the space inside. That's not what I wanted to do. I want to click on the outside here, so instead I'll click the fuzzy select tool. I'll click the outside here. I hope it works. Alright, nothing's happening, so I'll try this. What is going on with this thing? Selecting everything, I'm pretty sure. Or nothing at all. Alright, well that's not working. So what, yeah, how am I going to do that? Alright, so this is selecting everything. I just wanted to select a very little. I really don't want it to select the black lines, but it's doing that. I just want to select the exterior of it. So the only solution I have now that I could think of is to go select none. This is gonna mess it up though, so I have to do a duplicate of this. This is the only solution. Merge down there that I could think of at the moment. Now that this is combined with the background layer, now I'll try this again. Go to 40 or 39 point whatever. What is going on? It's frustrating. It should have selected the exterior. The only solution now is to paint this in some odd color just for the heck of it. Let's see, maybe that. Can't believe this isn't working. I hope it works this time. Select by color, maybe that's why. Normally it would just pick it right up and figure it out. Alright, well I'll just do this and see if this works. What I'm trying to do is just select the exterior here like that, and instead of this, see, I don't want this selected. So it finally worked because it was basing it on the black lines. That was all it seemed to have worked with. Alright, so I don't want this. I have to deselect this, and I have to find the right button to deselect it, but it's not showing up here. I don't understand. Usually it'll show a minus or a plus symbol to add or subtract, but it's not even doing that. This program's having some problems lately. Alright, there it is. There's the plus, there's the minus. See, it wasn't there before. I don't understand why it's not working right. Probably because there's so much going on here. Maybe that's why it's slowing down. Alright, so now that that's selected, let's see, that's the inside, so I have to go edit, copy, edit. Oh no, I actually have that selected, so I have to go here, and now that that's selected there, let's hope it's there. There it is. Now I'll just go edit on this layer, copy, edit, paste to new layer. This is what I was trying to do the whole time. Sorry for the delay. Alright, to new layer. 5 minutes later, it finally loads it. I'll delete this and let's hope this worked. Oh, you know what it did? Picked the wrong. I have to go back, select invert, because it picked. Oh, I forgot to invert it, that's why. I gotta get back to that selection. Oh, brother. It's not selecting it now. It's having some trouble here. Sorry about that. Just a simple task of selecting this and then deselecting the bridge so it's all together. Alright, now that that's all selected, I have to go on to this layer here, make sure I'm on this layer here. Now I guess I invert the selection. Normally that was selecting the right part there. Oh, okay, I have to invert it because I want to cut this part out, like cut out. There, hopefully that worked. No, I don't think it worked. It screwed it up again. This time apparently I'm not supposed to invert the selection. I don't get it. Should have worked last time, the first time. So now if I cut this, it's gonna work. That was weird. I don't know what happened there the first time. This is what I wanted the whole time. This effect. Alright, well it took a lot of trial and error, but there it is. Alright, next thing I have to do is delete this layer. And let me bring in the sky. I created a purple sky for this. And then I do have clouds. Actually, before I bring that in, let me deselect everything. Alright, so this sky here, I'll put in the back. See, right now it's like a background image, so I'll turn it into a PNG layer. It's not really necessary, but it's just something I like to do, rather than, like, if it's in the JPEG format, if you try to erase something, it'll just be either a white or black spot where you press the eraser. But when it's PNG, you could actually erase the object and you'll see the see-through, which is the main goal. Alright, so next thing I have to do is I can increase this sky. I don't have to do this right now, but I'll just do it for effect, just to see what it looks like. I really don't need a sky right now because I have it already thrown into the Anime Studio Pro. Look at that, the loading circle fits right in the center scale circle. That was cool. Alright, so now that that's done, I have to fine-tune the castle. And you can see the outline there, and then versus that. I think it looks better without the outline, but I need that outline for the drawbridge. I had a painting class in college, and I went to learn computer animation, and that was the main way to learn computer animation, because oh, wait a second, yeah, that's right, because back then there weren't any schools where you could just go and learn computer animation. It would have cost just as much as going to college, so that was the choice back then. And I'm glad I learned computer animation. It taught me a lot, and that's how I got the job at South Park in Los Angeles, San Diego, California. What happened there? Edit, undo, cut. It cut the wrong layer because I was on the wrong layer. So I have to go back onto the right layer and cut that part out. There it is. Alright, so next thing I have to do is, now that I have that selected, I might as well make the most of it and just click in here and complete that. But getting back to what I was saying about computer animation, and oh yeah, I had a art class that I had to do for the fine arts degree, and I remember one of the professors said, rather than have two different styles, like I had the style of the character with black outlines to make it look like a cartoon, and then the background was more like a painted effect. So it was, similar to the cell animated cartoons of the 80s, and even some today, where you see a painted background, and then just like in Dragon's Lair, you see a cell animated character. Well, he said that rather than do that, it clashed too much and the styles didn't match, he said, so that I should make the cell shaded style the same as the background. And I tried to explain to him that it was based off the cartoons and animated shows of the 80s and stuff like that, but he insisted. But I just kept doing it my way, although I did consider his advice, but I think he missed the goal that I was going for there in that moment for that particular project. But I was always open to constructive criticism and learning and improving my art skills, so he definitely had some good tips throughout the course, and then for my other professors as well, I learned a lot. So that was really helpful. But I already taught myself how to be an artist. It was just fine-tuning is what I would say college was for. It was just fine-tuning my art, illustration and drawing skills. But yeah, everything was self-taught from when I was a kid. I remember I was in this one, and there are so many artists that are better than me, but I remember I was in this one art class in, I think it was 7th grade, and this one teacher who was a good artist himself, he made like fantasy pictures of monsters and forests and stuff like that. Well, I drew these ducks, and they were like in this action scene, and it was like kind of like a space battle that they were going through, sort of like Star Wars, and it was for art class, and it was just a fun project. He said, do whatever you want. So I brought up the project, and he said, oh, you didn't, this isn't your work, you must have copied this. And I said, no, that's really my style and my drawings. So he said, no, that's you're supposed to do an original drawing, and I think you copied this. So I said, no, that's really my style, and I proved to him that my style was real and I wasn't copying anything. There was no other source. It was all out of my mind. And then he finally saw that I was, you know, able to do that without any reference or pictures or anything like that. So then he gave me a little more credit after that, thankfully. But that was 7th grade, and I was still learning how to become a better artist. But I was surprised that he didn't believe that I was able to draw the simple cartoon character. I mean, it was a neat character. It wasn't super complex or anything. But no big deal. But the main point is, if you have a style that you really like and someone's telling you, oh, you know, you change that style, don't do it that way, you should be more like this or more like that, ask yourself if that style is something you enjoy creating. And for my case, I really enjoyed the style that I had and the approach I had, so I stuck with it. And that's what, you know, I think every artist has to determine for themselves if that's their goal. Of course, if you want to expand your skills, you could always try different styles, which is important as you're getting to become a better artist, and then maybe you'll see a new style that you like. Alright, so this looks what I was going for here, and I'll just save that. Now that I have that section selected here, I just want to bring in a new texture, some sort of here, this piece here I'll bring in here. Alright, good, it didn't deselect it. I'm just looking for maybe that'll do it. Oh, this will be good for the clouds. I'll put that in the background. Alright, so getting back to this, I have to find a texture for the grass. That looks pretty good, but it's a little flat. Maybe something a little more. These are textures that really help speed things up. Yeah, like rocks, that's what I want. I created these rough looking rocks. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll put that right there. Alright, so I have to bring this down without... see? I didn't want to do that. Yeah, it didn't work. Alright. See, I had to select it after I brought it in. Oh no, it's still active. That's surprising. Wonder if I could scale it too. Probably not. As far as the whole movie theater situation right now, a lot of movie theaters are just trying to survive, so it's a rough situation. So there's a new movie, Godzilla versus King Kong, Godzilla versus Kong, that's going to be in theaters at the end of March 2021. So I haven't been to the theater in a little while. I'll probably go check it out. What happened to this piece here of the rock? It just cut off. There it is. Why is it cut off? Brother. I'm just gonna have to redo this whole setup here for this rock. I don't know why it would cut off there. I have to anchor it, but that's messed up. I just have to deselect because that selection is messing it up. Alright. Select none. Alright, it's select none. So I have to bring this over here to cover that open spot there as I had before, but for some reason maybe my selection messed it up. So as you can see, there's a lot of trial and error and a lot of working to get it right. And with this, let's see, let me pretend that there was no outline, and I think I could just go in then and select this, and just go like this. That's good enough, and I'll leave that like that. Now I can do edit, cut, like that, and then select none. Alright, next thing I'll do is this drawbridge. It's like an exaggerated drawbridge. In other words, I'll shrink it down to about the size of the castle. This reminds me of the drawbridge when in the movie Army of Darkness with Bruce Campbell and the Evil Dead series. He was entering the castle in that film, and he had to, I think they, I haven't seen it in a while, I have it on video, but they had to prevent the monsters from getting, the skeleton army from getting into the castle. So they had to try to block the drawbridge. Alright, so I'm just going to open that door and have it rotate downward. I'll see if that'll work. That'd be funny if this door yeah, that'd be funny. Oh, I'll open this door. Yeah, I have an idea. Alright, so next thing I do is, let's see, what was this? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna delete this right now. I don't need it anymore. So I'll delete the drawing layer, and next thing I'll do is merge this piece down onto the main piece like that. Then the cloud I'll just bring up here. I'm going to duplicate this in the main software, so I don't have to do too much with it now. One thing excuse me, one thing I do want to do is give it a tint of a purplish color, kind of like that, and then a little darker like that. Yeah, that's good. Alright, now I really have to do the shading on this castle. So one cool technique is to just select the outside, and what I'll do is I'm just going to merge this down with the rocks. So let me just do select none, merge that with the rocks like that, and now what I can do is select the outer edge and now do select invert. First thing I want to do is save it. next thing I want to do is the shading. Alright, so the one thing I have to figure out is the size of the pen. Now I have to figure out the light source. I could have a moon over here, so the light source will be on the right. So let me start shading on the left side. And with the castle, it's rounded, so I have to visualize a rounded shape. And then there's the shadow being cast, so I have to consider the shadow as well. But then there might be exterior lights to illuminate everything. And then there might, well, for something this big, there might be subtle reflective light on the outer edge, but not a whole lot of it. There still might be some. And then one thing that I've noticed, that when I was studying some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle drawings from years ago, one thing I learned by really focusing on that one illustration, this was like a painting of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for I think it was a video game, but it looks so awesome with the contrast and the colors and the shading. It was like against a dark city background, and the turtles were in like a spotlight, and they had these really high contrast colors, and what was really unique about it is the see, I do want to add some shade to this, and that'll create some roundness, or I could make that edge light. I have to decide. That side's going to be light, so let me just leave that a little bit lighter. But I do want to create a rounded effect, and the only way you can do that is to have the right shading for it. So let me just go really quick with a quick line there and some lines here. See, if it looks too flat, you lose the effect. So I'll just go here as well. Alright, so this is like kind of crazy looking castle. It's like a parody of the original, but I have to change the color of it to match the blue sky. So I'll get to that in a moment, but before I do that, let me get the lighter tone. Rather than use a pen or a brush, I could go into this tool is called the Dodge Burn tool. This is the program called GIMP, and the Dodge is the one I want. So the opacity I'll set to full, the size I'll reduce down to this. And watch this. This is a really neat effect if you haven't tried this before. Actually, I have the wrong brush. I have to get a smooth brush or the soft edge. I have to reduce the scale of it. One thing I should do before I start this is the little windows. Alright, so this creates a like a lighter shade without losing the textures of the, it doesn't cover over the textures, it just creates that lighter shade. See, I don't want to put too much here. I want this to be in shadow. Here I can offer a little more highlight over here, and then along the right edge, I think. I have to try to visualize what a real castle might look like. And it's okay to like really go bright on some certain spots, make it really stand out. Because in real life, that happens, where some spots really stand out in high contrast. And that reminds me of that drawing I was mentioning earlier, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Alright, and to increase the sense of roundness, I just go a little brighter on the inner part of this castle here. So it looks like the foreground, which would be the center, is more highlighted. Yeah, that looks more rounded compared to what it was earlier. Alright, and just to round these out a little bit, or just to give them a little more of a dimension, I'll just add a little light in there. One of my art teachers, I remember it was, I think it was 9th grade. Yeah, one of my art teachers, who was my favorite art teacher, he is a really great cartoonist of like vehicles and stuff like that. But he said about I was drawing a dragon, and it was like a monster dragon, a weird looking dragon, and it was like this character was fighting it. But even looking back, I can still remember I didn't have a whole lot of contrast, so the foreground blended in with the shades of the background, because there's just no real contrast to the colors. I just had like a light shade over everything, and that was it. So he said, rather than just have a light shade over everything, have the foreground be maybe a little darker, so it stands out compared to the midground and the background. And when he said that, I was like, I'm not sure I understand what he's saying there. But then I tried it, and it really brought it out and made it look a lot better. Alright, so now that that's finished, I don't want quite that much effect on the bridge. See, I don't want that darkness affected, so I'll have to make sure I'm on the right layer here. Yeah, that's better. Alright, so now that I have that, I have to put the windows in. And just save your work often. I was working on this one project back when I was, I think it was, trying to remember what year that was. Alright, so I'm going to create a new layer for this, just in case. Transparency layer. I'm going to put the little windows in there. Actually, I have an idea. Let me grab this piece here and use this for the windows. This is already set up just like I like it. But getting back to my story, I was, I think I was like 17, maybe 17, I think, and I was creating this video game on my old computer, and you could create video games. It was called the Shoot 'em Up Construction Kit for the Amiga 2000, and I would create like adventure games and stuff like that, not just the space action shooting games where you're a spaceship and you shoot laser beams or different weapons and stuff. But yeah, it was a really creative program. So I was creating this adventure. It was like a little animated story. It took about, like, the whole story when it was finished, and I think I still have it on disc. I should put it on video. It took yeah, this is gonna work out for the Windows. The whole thing took about an hour to get through the whole story. I think it was like an hour or 40 minutes or something. And back then, I always valued the length of the film versus the quality of the film. Like, I was like, oh wow, this thing's 2 hours. This is like an epic production here. But I used to value the runtime more than the quality of the film. So that wasn't a good strategy back then. Alright, so now that I have this window here, I want to remember this is going to be in like clouds and kind of like a foggy atmosphere, so I don't want the windows too bright. So this one, then I have to consider the angles that they're at too. But getting to the story, it was like a mouse, and he went on this adventure. He was at home at first, and his mother said, "Where are you going?" And he walked out the door and went on this adventure. And it took me, like, I'd say 20 hours. I was working on it non-stop, morning into night, and the whole thing, just the power went out, and I lost everything because I didn't save it a single time. I don't know why I didn't save it, but I totally made a huge mistake by not saving it. That was probably the single most frustrating creative project I've ever done, where you lost 20 hours worth of your life creating it. So you had to make a decision because you had nothing to show for at the end. I never got to see the finished film, the video game film. So what I did is I said, alright, let me just start over and do it all over again from scratch. So I went all the way back from the very first sprite of the mouse and redrew everything, and the animations and all that, and all the scenery, and wow, that was a frustrating start when I had to restart doing it all. But once I got into the rhythm of creating everything, it became fun again, and then I improved a couple things and made it better. But it was really consistent to the original story and the look of the original sprites. But yeah, that was a huge lesson for me. I saved like every 5 minutes on that second draft, second run through. But yeah, that took and I only had that one weekend before I had to go back to school, so I think that's why it was so frustrating too. I was like, that was the weekend I really wanted to get it done. But yeah, I had to finish it during the week because I just didn't have enough time to get it done. But I didn't sleep the whole night, and that made it more difficult, because when you're sleepy it's difficult. Alright, there we go. That reminds me of this one high school report I had to create. It was like a literature report, like a thesis or whatever. Not a thesis, but just a report. So it was about the Lord of the Rings, because I'm a huge fan of the monsters and the creatures and the dragons and stuff like that from the J.R.R. Tolkien books. Growing up, I read all the Lord of the Rings books and the Hobbit and all that. So I said, oh well, I have to compare a modern villain to the Lord of the Rings. So I read the Lord of the Rings books right until the very last day of the project, before the report was due. And normally I would always work ahead and get it done on time and all that, but for some reason I was like, I don't know how to compare this to a modern day villain. So I finally got some ideas, but then I didn't put it on the typewriter until the very morning it was due. So I was up till like, I started at 10 p.m. and I was up till 6 a.m. and I finally got it done, and the typewriter ran out of ink. It was on an old typewriter back then. So then I said, how am I going to do this? I said, let me just take in what I have and work on the rest in school, because it was already 6 a.m. and I had to be on the bus at almost like 7:30 a.m. and I still didn't get ready for school, so I had to do all that. And I remember I was in school and it was lunchtime and I was writing the story in with a pen, and here's everything else typed up, and then the last page was all written really fast in a pen. So then with the pen, it looked really rough, but what was I supposed to do? I had to finish the report. That was my fault for holding it off so late. So I learned a lesson there, because I got a D- on that report. It was the worst grade I've ever gotten for that, because I used to get A's and B's in literature and English class and all that. So that was just one lesson I learned, and even the teacher knew that I waited until last minute to write it all up. Alright, so let's see, on the movies, the South Park movie, which was a really valuable experience, and I had to learn a lot about dealing with computers and the frustration of a computer that doesn't do what you want it to, and how to handle that. So that was a learning experience for me. And then, yeah, alright, so this is getting there. I don't have to have every single one with a window, but I do have to have windows here, I think. This way the main castle has some windows to it. This square keeps getting larger and larger, but it's not going to matter, because I'm going to that's weird. Why is that other one sideways? Oh, because the original. See, the square keeps getting larger because I keep rotating it. See how big the thing got? That's not even the right angle. So rather than use that one, I'll go to the original one. Just duplicate this. Before I do anything else, save it. Now I'll just bring this down here. Layer, duplicate, put one there. I mean, I could have drawn these in, that probably would have saved me some time, but this gives it a little more a little more quality to the line. And one there maybe. And I think that's good. I don't think I need any here. But yeah, the Dragon's Lair castle was so cool. Alright, so now rather than go through each layer and merge each layer, just select the ones I don't want merged, do a merge visible, and that'll merge all that together like that. Yeah, I mean that's a cool look to the castle. I think I could increase the contrast. Yeah, that looks cool. I like that better. And then have these visible, and this layer here, I don't know what that was. Wow, looks pretty neat. Yeah, that was the unnecessary layer. Alright, so it's getting there. Next thing I want to do is a neat effect where I'm going to duplicate this castle, and then here's a really cool effect that I learned. I'm going to colorize it with this color tool, and now I create whatever color I want. So I like that to match the background. And here's the thing I'll do. I'll use that layer there, and now I'll just go under erase. So let's see. I want the left side to be in the dark, the right side to be in the light. So I have to reduce the scale of this, increase the that's not quite there. Reduce the opacity a little bit, increase the scale, no, decrease the scale. I mean, the original drawing of the castle, I think it was all in purple, but I don't have to make it exact. I'm basing it off of like a light source hitting the castle, and then the darkness is in the purple color. But I'm not going for an exact match. This is like a parody, so I can play around with it and improvise and give it my own style to it, even though the original style is totally awesome. I'm a huge fan of the Dragon's Lair style, and the Dragon's Lair animated film is major inspiration for my art and my drawings. Alright, so that looks kind of cool. Maybe I went a little too far with this, but let me zoom out. One thing I'll do right now is do a contrast on that door. That looks cool. And then with the cloud, I'll take care of that. This is almost finished. I have to add the prickly vines here. That shouldn't take long at all. And then maybe I should have more rocks so it stands out more. I could just add a big rock in there and color it purple. That should work. I'm just deciding right now if I should keep the castle with that color to it, I think I need to darken this a little. I took too much away. So what I'll do is I'll duplicate this again, bring this up here, or I could just leave it under there, then do the colorize again if it'll finally pick up. Sometimes it just won't respond. Like right now. Oh, there it goes. So it'll go to the last one that I had before, and now I can decide, do I want to reduce that? Do I want to keep it where it is? I think it's better purple, so I'll just leave it like that for now. But I do like this texture and the color, so I could save that for another time. But for now, it's easy to change the color, so I'm not going to worry about it. The wooden drawbridge, I'll colorize that too. Alright, only because like everything's in the dark, and when everything's in the dark it looks that way. Alright, so I'll do is select all, and then image crop, and then I'll just clean up the edges so it's not unnecessary material there. And there it is. There's the quick version of the Dragon's Lair castle. I have to merge this down to there, leave the wooden part there, the cloud separate. This I can actually delete, but I'm going to keep it in here, and I'll just delete what I have there. And now I'll just do export, and then I'll put it all together in the final film. But before I do that, there's just one last thing I'll do. But thanks for watching, and feel free to comment, subscribe, like, and share, and I hope you learned something.